I'm Teddy from Making Music in Chicago. I'm here with John Cruz, a master builder in the Fender Custom Shop. And he's come here today to talk to us a little bit about his building philosophies and building styles and overall guitars in general. And welcome. Thank you so much for coming to Chicago.
Oh, thanks for having me out, man. I love this time of the year. It's a little cold, but it's not as cold as I thought it was going to be. It wasn't like being in the middle of Wisconsin in December, but it's nice. And then we actually have a nice day today, so I'm pretty happy with that.
Excellent. I thought maybe we could start by giving a little bit of a background, a little bit of your history with Fender and how long you've been there.
Well, it's 25 years this year. You see, I started in October of '87. It was a fantasy of mine to be in the industry somehow, whether being a pro rock star or whatever. Kind of gave up on that idea, but I just always loved tinkering with instruments and stuff like that. And I was playing in a band at the time. I had a friend of mine that got a job at another guitar company close by, and he was all psyched about it, coming to practice, talking about what a great job he has, and he's doing necks, and man, I love it, man. I'm around guitars all day long. You should come down here and try to get a job, man. So I went down there one day, and it was really close by in Fullerton, and went and paid a visit to them, and took a tour and stuff. And at the end, I was just like, hey, you guys have any openings or anything? Maybe I can get in and help out. I'm pretty handy with the soldering iron, and I've got a good eye, and this and that. And they're like, yeah, we'll have to get back to, but we're not really hiring right now at all. So it might be a few months, might be a year. We don't know. It was basically brushing me off in a nice way. Mm-hmm. And and I felt kind of like, oh man. But he goes, you know what? There's another company, Fender, that's down the road a ways. They're out in Corona. And I was like, oh, Corona, man, that's kind of a drive for me, because I was living in LA County at the time, and it was about a 45-minute to an hour drive, which is nothing nowadays, but away from traffic. So I was like, I'll go check it out. So the next day I got all cleaned up, went down there just with a great attitude, and I went in and took the tour of the company. At the time it was a lot smaller at that point, manufacturing, and it turns out that they were hiring for an entry-level mill person, working in the mill, just kind of helping out here and there. And this is long before we even had like a suction for all our machinery and taking all the sawdust out and all that kind of stuff. And so we were doing a lot of work by hand, cleaning out the machines in between sessions of making bodies and necks and sweeping the floors and all that. So I basically started at ground level, sweeping floors, cleaning out the machine. While the old man was taking a break, he'd look at me and go, get down there and clean that machine out. So I paid my dues, man. That was, and it was a cool time, and I didn't complain about it. Yeah, the money wasn't what I was making at my previous job, but I didn't care, because I was in, and I knew in the back of my mind it was going to be the greatest instrument company in the world. I just kind of milled my way through the mill for a few years, worked in different areas. I worked at the first area, I was chopping alder and ash blanks together and sizing them up to the grain, same patterns and everything, matching up for ash bodies and alder bodies. And I got yelled at quite a bit for turning the grain the wrong way. And it's a learning thing, you know what I mean? And at night I would go home and I would be reading all the magazines and trying to get as much information in how Leo ran the company and the historical part of it. And just, I was still young at the time, and I was just learning, man. But it was a real eye-opening thing to, like, you really got to pay attention, because there's people out there that are real, critical about, vintage correctness, so to speak. And I learned it very well, and moved to different areas, and eventually landed the job working in the neck department. And that's where I really got to learn about the construction of necks, which to me is a very important part of the guitar overall. And I got to work with some great guys. That's where I first met Scott Buell, who's still working at Fender now. Herbie Gastelumi, has been there since '61, I think, is when he started. He's still an old timer, still there. I learned a lot of my shaping abilities and a lot of no-nos from that guy. And I love him so much. He's just a great guy, and he's taught me so much in this industry.
So you still see on eBay every once in a while old USA production Fender neck signed by you.
Yeah, I still see those. Some guy sent me one time, and he wanted to literally take the neck off the guitar and send it to me to have me sign the neck. I'm like, dude, are you serious, really? and I just like, man, I'm honored, but I mean, just keep it for what it is, man. It's, it was like, it was at '88, and I was about a year that I was there when I started shaping necks and stuff, and it had my stamp in there and it had the date, and I remember the way I was writing penciling in the neck dates and all that stuff. I never even thought about the vintage correctness look of it or anything at that time. That's just how I did it at the time. So it was really cool.
How have you seen, like, since you started in the custom shop, the evolution of things there and just the quality, the improvements and things like that?
Well, yeah, with time in this day and age now, gone are the days of using bandsaws and pin routers to do all our bodies and necks. It'd be great to do that, but we wouldn't be the company we are today if we were still doing it that way. We wouldn't be able to get anything done. We have a big crew working with the whole company now, and everybody's very skilled at what they do. We're not hiding anything. We use CNC machines to do our basic cutting of necks and bodies, but we still use old-time techniques for the way Leo did it. We don't want to change that. Like, we still have a lot of the tooling machines and some of the routers and stuff that we still use for certain aspects of the manufacturing. We still have those machines that we use them. But a lot of the sanding and all that stuff is still done old-fashioned Leo way with the drum sanders, barrel sanders, hand sanders, all that stuff. We still use those techniques, and I don't think we'll ever change it. And I think that's what gives Fender the mojo for their guitars. You'll see 5 or 6, three-tone sunburst Strats, but you can feel every one of them feels a little bit different. Everyone's got their own personality, their own mojo, and I think that's what makes Fender different from everybody out there.
Mm-hmm. How do you approach the building process?
That's a good question. I like to keep in the back of my mind about using a lot of the old styles of how we manufactured guitars back in the 50s and early 50s and 60s, and try to stay true to that to give the overall authentic look of the vintage instruments or instruments that we create. But I like to also put my own personality into it and taxes that I've learned over the years, and just give it that little extra spark to make it something special for somebody. I like to concentrate on a lot of the shapes and stuff. They've got to feel right for me. The fit of the neck and the body and stuff has got to be top notch. And let's face it, a lot of those early guitars in the 50s and 60s, there's some home runs out there, and there's some that weren't quite up to snuff for that. But I look back to those days. It wasn't really a custom shop at that point. It was a production guitar, and that's how Leo approached it. And we approach that today as well. But now that we have a custom shop, we can give the customer exactly what they want, and we get to pour our own soul into each one of those guitars. And especially when you do a Masterbuilt guitar, you get to choose the builder that you want to work with. We get to talk to the customers and stuff and feel them out a little bit, and they get to learn about what we do, and hopefully videos like this will help to kind of let you understand that who you're dealing with, and there's all builders are very, very good builders and been doing it for a number of years, but everybody has their own personality and niche that they stick to when they build guitars.
What are some of the ways that you work with a customer when they've chosen you as a builder? How do you help guide them through the process? That's
always a cool thing with us. They tell us to interact with the customer as much as you can. We'll deal with the dealer like yourself, and we'll hammer out specs back and forth, and usually the dealer's usually like the middleman between the customer and us. But now we've gotten to the point where we look forward to working one-on-one with the customer, and I think they're throwing down a lot of money on a guitar. I want to make them feel a part of the build. Mm-hmm. I want to make it feel like they were there chopping a tree down, even though we don't do that. But we want them to feel important and that they had a say in how their guitar got created. And sometimes they'll come at me and they say, "This is exactly what I want. I've got these specs hammered out. What do you think?" And the first thing I do, well, first of all, where are you from? And tell me a little bit about yourself and the type of music you like to listen to. What's your playing styles? What do you like to do musically? And I like to feel that out first, and then they start giving me specs, and I go over their specs, and a lot of things are legit. Yeah, this looks good. This is something we can do, and I'll add suggestions too. Sometimes just feeling them out and see what I think would work best for them. And most of the time, they'll listen to us because we're experienced at this, and this is what we do. And 9 times out of 10, it's usually a good fit when we work that way.
Maybe like the difference between a Masterbuilt guitar and regular custom shop order. Do you call them team built officially, or is it just custom shop and Masterbuilt?
Well, it's custom shop guitar, and it's our team built series. So we have a team of workers that work in the back that build nothing but team built and team built custom guitars. The Masterbuilt, that's the next step up. And we use the same mills and stuff that make the bodies for team built on, but Masterbuilt has a lot more say on the type of woods that we use, or certain figures, or weights and stuff like that. We we'll literally go out and hand choose a lot of our pieces that we like to use. And then we have wood sorters, guys out there that sort wood just for Masterbuilt product only, and that's makes it easier for us. We don't have to go through 100 stacks of bodies and necks and try to find the right blank to make a neck or body out of, and so that helps us out quite a bit.
Yeah, I always get customers asking, are Masterbuilt guitars better? And I always like to explain that, when you have a wall full of custom shop guitars, Masterbuilt, Team Built, you are going to find an excellent guitar. They're all fantastic guitars, but part of the process, of getting a Masterbuilt guitar, where you have some one-on-one communication with the builder, between the builder and the consumer, there's some aspects that if somebody's really looking for something to be built a certain way, like a feel or a color or a weight thing, they can communicate with you, and you can really dial it in to the consumer.
Yeah, that's a good thing about the Masterbuilt program, is that we make the customer feel a part of the build from the beginning, and that person's going to get exactly what they want, what they've dreamed about their whole life, what they've saved money for their whole life, and getting to work with us one-on-one makes it that much more special to the person. And I don't ever knock any of the Team Built or even the price PL10 stuff on the line is excellent stuff as well. I mean, you can walk into any store literally and pick it up, and if it's most of the time those guitars are already being tuned, ready to go, and they play great. And the same thing with the Team Built stuff too. It's all phenomenal playing stuff and looking stuff, and but the Masterbuilt stuff just to me has that little extra oomph to it, that somebody's just going to touch on the wall and go, oh my God, that's the one.
The special sauce.
Special sauce, secret sauce, that's it.
In your years as a master builder, are there any builds in particular that stick out in your mind that you really had a great experience with that project or this project?
I have great experiences with all the projects that I work on. It's hard to pinpoint one. I mean, obviously the tribute series stuff is a big thing on my repertoire. I just especially getting to work with some of the artists that I've dealt with in the past, and some that aren't with us anymore that I've got to do in the past. It's an extreme honor to be part of that, and knowing that somebody out there probably never got to hold Stevie's #1, or just see it in the magazine or something. But I take that into consideration when I'm making that guitar. I got to make it look as close to that. The DNA is close to that. Everything is physically close to that guitar as I could possibly do, and it's great to work with certain specs and video footage, and actually seeing the guitars that we work with, and feeling them and playing them, and just get an understanding of the guitar. And that helps us to when we create these type of guitars. And the same thing goes for each one of our builds for certain dealers. I've had some real dream guitars that it's really hard to let those guitars go. When I finish it, it's almost like I could run for the door right now and take off, and I'd be a happy man for the rest of my life. And there's other ones that that give you a little bit more of a problem, but it's not going to leave the place until it's feeling right. And when it feels right, and it leaves, it's a good feeling at the end of the day. I can go home happy, and usually I'm really happy when a couple weeks or a couple months goes by, the guy finally gets his guitar and he sends me an email with a picture of him crying or whatever. I've had people actually do that. It's like, it hits you right here, man. It really does. And it's just an honor to be a part, to be able to do stuff like that for people.
What are some of the most unique customer pieces? Is there anything that sticks out in your mind as being interesting or different in some way, that was like a real wacky one-off or something like that?
There's been our share of wackiness in the shop, of course. I've had guys that hit me up for I've got to have a complete stock vintage 57 Strat, completely stock. Oh, by the way, I want you to scallop the neck from the 12th fret up, and I want these DiMarzio hot rail style pickups in it, and but everything else has got to be stock, man. Oh, and I want a compound radius too. It's like, I'll do what they want. That's what they want. I try to talk them out of it, but no, you can't. They got their mindset. Mm-hmm. But I've had those kind of guys, and God bless them, man. They've got their thing of how they feel their tone's going to make them be a great player, and we're just happy to be a part to help them get where they need to get. So there's a lot of weird things out there that we deal with, situations, and there's just some dream situations that just makes us be proud of what we do.
Is there any particular aspect or component to a guitar that you really think is like the core or the most important piece in the soul of the instrument?
People can say color, pickups, you know, weight of the guitar. For me, it's always been the neck. I mean, it's like I can pick up any guitar in a store and, yeah, that feels good, that feels good. When you run across that one neck, it's like, that's the one right there. That's kind of my philosophy, is the most important part of a build for me, is it's got to be the neck and how it feels and the roll and the fret job, and everything has got to be like the best of my ability, and hopefully that conveys to the customer that, you know, you're going to be throwing down your money on this. This is going to be the best guitar you've got, you know.
There's often been a debate between, you know, true vintage specs and the new modern specs on guitars, and I know throughout the history of Fender, their guitars have evolved, but they've still managed to stay true to their, you know, inherent Fender quality. But where do you fall philosophy-wise about vintage or modern? Or?
My dream thing is, I love the look of a true vintage-looking guitar, feeling guitar. You know, the color, the neck shapes, you know, vintage correct things. But I also like modern aspects of the guitar too, like you know, different style pickup, you know, which we obviously offer. Different types of radiuses. I like using more flatter radiuses, and I think a lot of the players this day and age now are requiring that much more. There's a lot more, you know, dare I say shredders, but there's a lot more like players that do a lot more bending, not so much more rhythm playing anymore, and they've got to have that extra feel in the neck that they can bend with confidence and not worry about something fretting out on or whatever. Which, you know, the early vintage stuff is great still. You know, you set them up right, they'll play beautiful. And you know, I'm not too sure Leo was really examining that point of it back in the day. Maybe he was, but maybe he had a different outlook to it. But in this day and age, we've got so many diversified people playing country to rock to metal that are all coming back to Fender now, or coming to Fender for the first time. So we want to give them something that's going to be comfortable right out of the box, and that goes to you know, neck shapes, weights, and of course the radiuses and the frets of the neck as well.
Well, I'd like to thank you again so much for coming all the way from California to freezing cold Chicago to spend the day with us here. It's really been a pleasure for us.
No problem, man. I enjoyed it, and looking forward to some of that Chicago pizza. And sorry I missed the Cubs this season, but I think I'll be back maybe in the summertime to go to a game with you and see how things are coming here at the shop, man. I love the shop. I just want to say thanks to you guys and support Making Music, man. They got some great instruments here. Just come check them out online, and you know, support the arts, baby.
Yeah. Go Hawks.
Yeah. Lakers.
Clippers.
Clippers.